In Laboratory Reddit, today's story is:
My family contacted the abusive parents of my pregnant girlfriend and we lost our baby, but karma gave them exactly what they deserved. I'm 19 and I've been with my girlfriend, who is also 19, for about 2 years. We were careful, but as often happens, she got pregnant. We didn't plan it, but I love her deeply and I would never think of abandoning my responsibilities. I grew up in a very strict household where my parents imposed their will as the only valid option. My 23-year-old older brother was treated like the perfect son. I never heard a word of disappointment towards him no matter what problems he caused. On the other hand, I was always seen as the family disappointment, even when I tried my best. Nothing I did seemed to satisfy them. When I found out that my girlfriend was pregnant, I knew that informing my parents would be complicated, but I didn't imagine the magnitude of their reaction. They didn't just get angry, they completely lost control. My father started saying that I was ruining my future for a woman with no values. My mother acted as if I had personally betrayed her, while my brother watched with a smug smile, as he always did when I was in trouble. The moment they gave me the ultimatum, either leave her or leave the family, I knew exactly what to do. I wasn't going to abandon my girlfriend because I sincerely loved her, especially when she was already scared and facing enough difficulties. I told them I chose her, and that marked the end of my family relationship. My father cut off all financial support, disinherited me and made it clear that he no longer considered me his son. My mother cried, saying that I would regret it for the rest of my life. My brother simply laughed, apparently happy to now have all my parents' attention. It's not that he didn't have it before, but I think he didn't want me to receive any kind of attention, not even when it was to scold me. She had always treated me as inferior and now she got exactly what she wanted. So I was officially out of the family. I packed what I could carry and left. I wasn't completely destitute. I had a job before all this happened, so I had some savings, although not enough for much. That's when my best friend's older brother stepped in. Let's call him Yate because it's a name I won't forget. Yate owns a small apartment building and, upon learning of my situation, he immediately offered to help. He let me rent a small one-bedroom unit at an incredibly low price, and he never pressured me when I had difficulty paying. He only asked me to focus on my girlfriend and the baby, a gesture I will never forget. I am a loyal person, so when someone treats me as Yate did, you can be sure that I will be grateful to them for the rest of my life. If you're wondering what my girlfriend's situation was like with her family, the answer is that it was much, much worse. Her parents were openly abusive, controlling, manipulative and extremely traditionalist, which could have resulted in something much more serious if they found out she was pregnant. She didn't hesitate to get away from them. She packed a small bag, left them a letter, turned off her phone and never looked back. We started from scratch, just the two of us, learning as we went along. It wasn't easy. Money was tight, and she had to interrupt her university studies due to the pregnancy and the escape. She wanted to contribute to the expenses, so she started looking for a part-time job while I worked overtime. Despite all the difficulties, we were happy. At least until my family decided they weren't finished with me yet. I thought they had forgotten about me. But one day, while I was at work, my girlfriend called me in tears. My parents had turned up at our apartment, banging on the door and shouting at her. They called her everything under the sun, self-serving, manipulative, they even accused her of intentionally trapping me. They demanded that she do the right thing and leave me. I was absolutely furious. I called my father warning him that if he or any member of the family approached her again, I would call the police. He dismissed me as if I were a child throwing a tantrum and made it clear that, when my girlfriend inevitably abandoned me, I should not bother to return to them. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. As they couldn't visit us at home, thanks to Yate, who warned that any further disturbance would result in a police report, they began to harass her in public. At first, my girlfriend thought she was being paranoid, but then she began to notice that she saw them more and more frequently. Whenever she went out shopping or just for a walk, one of them was there. They shouted things at her, called her despicable, accused her of ruining my life and made it clear that they would not allow her to keep me forever. One night she broke down, confessing that she was afraid to go out alone. I had never felt so powerless. I went straight to the police to try to get a restraining order, but apparently, as there had been no physical violence or direct threats, there was not enough justification. I was outraged. What were we supposed to do? Wait for something worse to happen? I tried to be at home as much as possible, but between work and university I couldn't always be there. Meanwhile, my brother seemed to enjoy every second of this situation. He was always the first to appear when my parents started to harass her. He was always the one who spoke the loudest, hurling the worst insults. I knew he had always hated me. He had bullied me since we were kids, but this showed a different level of evil. I wanted to confront him physically. Every part of me screamed to go to his house and teach him a lesson, but I knew that if I did, I would end up ruining both my life and my girlfriend's. Even so, I don't know how much more I can take. I don't even understand why they're still doing this. I already did what they wanted. I left. I cut ties. I didn't ask them for anything, so why do they keep trying to ruin my life? Why does my brother keep acting like he has to punish me for something that doesn't even affect him? I'm furious. I'm exhausted and I just want them to stop. So, Reddit, how can I make them stop for good? It's already clear that the police won't do much to stop them, but what other options do I have? Comments. Comment 1. Okay, your parents are acting horribly, no doubt about it. But let's take a step back. Are you absolutely sure they're doing it out of pure evil? You're 19 years old, and from their perspective, you're making a huge, life-changing decision with very little preparation. Parents, even toxic ones, sometimes react harshly when they see their children making irreversible decisions. What if this is their distorted way of trying to scare you into reconsidering, and if they really believe they are acting for your own good? Answer: if they really cared about my well-being, they wouldn't be harassing my pregnant girlfriend in public. They wouldn't have instantly disinherited me. I understand parents getting alarmed when their children make unexpected decisions, but there's a difference between being concerned and being cruel. If they really wanted to help, they could have sat down with me, offered me advice or at least given me the opportunity to explain my plans. Instead, they immediately resorted to threats and insults, as if I were a family embarrassment. That's not love, it's control, and I refuse to let them dictate my life simply because they think they know what's best. Comment 2. I understand that you are supporting your girlfriend, but let's face it, this whole situation is a disaster waiting to happen. You are 19 years old, barely making ends meet, and you plan to raise a baby while working and studying. You are encouraging your girlfriend to work during her pregnancy instead of focusing on her health. Both of you have sacrificed a stable future to stand up to your family. Do you really think this is the best environment for a child, or are you rushing in without thinking it through properly? Response: I'm not forcing my girlfriend to work. She wants to. She wants to contribute and hates the idea of me carrying the whole weight alone. This is a partnership, not a burden. And no, we haven't given up on a stable future. We are building it. She will return to university after the birth, and I am getting a technical qualification to increase my income. People assume that because we are young we are destined to fail, but many people have started from scratch and built extraordinary lives. The difference is that we are willing to work for it. I'd rather struggle now than regret not trying later. Update 1. I wasn't planning on updating. Honestly, I didn't have the energy for it. My life fell apart terribly in the last period, and I needed to focus on my girlfriend instead of spending time here. But now that things have calmed down, at least as much as they could, I thought I should share an update, even if it's not the kind of news anyone would like to read. I saw the comments on my original post and I understand why there were concerns. Some said I was ruining my life, that I was acting emotionally, that I would regret moving away from my parents. Others suggested that my parents might be acting out of fear, that I should be more understanding. I wish it had been like that. I wish I could say they only wanted the best for me, but the truth is that they destroyed everything, and the worst thing is that they still act as if it wasn't their intention. This is what happened after my post. A week later, my parents decided to escalate the situation. Since harassing my girlfriend didn't work, they did something worse. They contacted her parents. They knew she had run away, they knew she was afraid of her family, and yet they decided to tell them everything about the pregnancy and reveal our address. I was at university when it happened. My girlfriend's parents arrived unannounced and forced their way into our apartment. My girlfriend was alone. I wasn't there to protect her. She told me later that they shouted at her, calling her an embarrassment, saying that she had humiliated them. They pushed her, cornered her and demanded that she come with them. When she refused, the situation turned violent. They physically assaulted her. By the time a neighbor heard the commotion and called the police, it was too late. They had caused her so much damage that she ended up in the emergency room. She lost the baby and the doctors informed us that she would never be able to have children again. That was the end of it. The end of our plans, our baby, our future. It all disappeared in a single act of cruelty. Her parents were arrested and the case is still ongoing. I hope they receive the maximum sentence. I hope they never see the light of day again. But whatever happens to them, nothing will change what they did. I was devastated. I felt like my world had ended. But although I was suffering intensely, my girlfriend was in a worse state. She didn't talk, she didn't cry. She just shut down emotionally. I sat in that hospital room with her for days. Watching the person I loved transform into someone I didn't recognize. And my parents? They had the audacity to act surprised when I confronted them. They swore they didn't know that her parents would act like that. They kept apologizing, saying that they never wanted the baby to be hurt, that they were just trying to make us see reason. They said they were really sorry. I didn't care. I destroyed their house, broke furniture, smashed photo frames, tore up everything I could get my hands on. And when my brother decided to intervene by acting as if I was overreacting, I confronted him physically. I didn't hold back. With every blow I wanted them to feel even a fraction of the pain I was experiencing. I won't deny that at a certain point I wanted to cause them the same damage that they caused my son. Fortunately I restrained myself, otherwise I would be writing this from prison. Even so, I was arrested for the first time in my life. I regretted some things, but not hitting him. I would do it again without hesitation, but I regretted leaving my girlfriend alone in the hospital. I should have been there. I should never have left her alone. Fortunately, my best friend and his brother showed up, like the real heroes they are. They got me out of jail, no questions asked. The first thing I did when I got out was go straight to the hospital, where my girlfriend was still lying in the same bed, because for her there was nothing more that could be done. I didn't update before because, honestly, what could I say? Nothing positive happened, nothing got better. Our lives didn't take a miraculous turn. I don't know what to do now. My girlfriend still doesn't talk, not to me or to anyone. She is completely emotionally isolated and I understand that. I can't fully understand what she's going through because she was carrying the baby inside her. But I partially understand because I also lost a child, although for her it has been infinitely worse. I started looking for a therapist because I recognize that I am sinking and I cannot afford to collapse when she needs me. My best friend, her brother and her parents have been looking after her when I am at work or at university, and I am immensely grateful, but nothing can repair what has happened. As for my parents, they now beg for forgiveness. Since the extended family found out about their actions, they have been completely isolated. Nobody wants anything to do with them. Now they are trying to reconcile, offering money, offering anything to get me to talk to them. I'm not interested. I don't want their money. I don't want their apologies. They could offer me $1 billion and it still wouldn't bring my son back. They destroyed my life and now they pretend it was just a mistake. I want nothing from them. Well, maybe I do, for them to disappear from this world. Even if I don't have to see them or interact with them, knowing that they exist, that they continue their lives without consequences, infuriates me. Her parents can face their fate. They deserve everything that awaits them and I hope they never get out of prison. Honestly, I hope they get what's coming to them in there. I wish I had better news, but this is my current reality. Update 2. It's been a long time since my last post. To be honest, I was unsure whether to come back here, but I saw the comments, the private messages and the people who genuinely cared to ask how I was. So, first of all, thank you to everyone who offered advice, support or just kind words. It meant more than you can imagine. When you feel like your life is like drowning in a thick substance, any little break makes a difference. Any word of encouragement, no matter how insignificant it may seem, costs nothing and yet means everything. That said, if you were hoping for a fairy tale ending, you won't find it here. Real life doesn't work like that. There are no perfect resolutions and no completely solved problems. But I can say that I am no longer just surviving and, after all we have been through, that is enough. A year after my last update, my girlfriend's parents finally received their sentence. Their trial lasted for months and the whole process was extremely difficult. I tried with all my might to get my own parents prosecuted too, because from my perspective they were equally guilty. They were the ones who gave out our address. They knew what kind of people her parents were. They knew exactly what could happen. However, my parents had financial resources, lawyers and connections. They managed to avoid any legal consequences, despite all my efforts. But socially they lost everything. Our extended family completely rejected them after learning the truth, even though legally they went unpunished. That fact still haunts me, but I had to accept it. There was nothing more I could do. Not even a civil lawsuit would be successful against them. The connection between my parents and my in-laws is too tenuous to prove anything in a court of law. It is virtually impossible to prove that they provided the address with malicious intent. Her parents were not so lucky. They were convicted of breaking and entering, assault, kidnapping and involuntary manslaughter of an unborn child. The final sentence, 25 years for her father, with no possibility of parole for at least 18 years, and 20 years for her mother, with eligibility for parole after 15 years. They showed no remorse, none at all. Not even the slightest gesture of regret. Even when the judge passed sentence, they remained impassive, without expression, as if they still believed they were in the right. They never apologized, never acknowledged their actions. I should have felt relief, I should have felt something. But I only experienced emptiness. No amount of prison time will bring back what we lost. After all this, my girlfriend's mental health deteriorated severely. There were days when she barely spoke, nights when I woke up to find her curled up in the corner of our room, sobbing into her hands. It was as if a part of her had died that day, and I didn't know if she would ever be the same again. But gradually, very slowly, she began to recover. She went back to university. Only a few classes at first, but eventually she found her way again. She told me she needed to reclaim her life, finish what she had started before it was taken away from her, and she is doing it. She continues to study, and I have no doubt she will do something extraordinary with her degree. As for me, I dropped out of college, not because I gave up, but because I found something better. Some distant relatives, living in another country who never knew the whole truth, finally found out. When they did, they were outraged, not at me, but at my parents. They contacted me, and unlike my parents, their apologies really meant something. They helped me start my own business. I won't pretend it's a great success story, but I'm financially stable. My girlfriend and I moved to another state, started over, and 6 months ago I officially launched my business in partnership with these relatives. We have survived it all, losing our son, losing our families, almost losing ourselves, and somehow, after all that, we keep moving forward. Now we are 21. And we have decided that if we could overcome these adversities, we can face any challenge. The wedding is still in the planning stage. We don't have a date yet, and honestly, we're in no hurry. It's not about an elaborate ceremony or expensive jewelry. It's about us, about choosing each other over and over again, no matter how many times life tries to tear us apart. We don't talk much about having children. It's still a sensitive issue. She still experiences occasional crises, moments when the weight of it all suddenly becomes too much for her. I don't push her. When she's ready to talk, I listen carefully. But I know it's a wound that will never completely heal, and I don't know if we'll ever be able to talk about it properly. For now, we just focus on each other. My best friend and his brother continue to be part of my life. We don't talk every day, but we keep in touch and we meet up occasionally, either when I visit them or they come to see us. They were the only unconditional people when everything fell apart, and I will never forget that. As for my parents, they continue to beg. Since the extended family turned their back on them, they have been trying to get back into my life. They seek reconciliation, they want to re-establish the relationship, they want to make things right, but they refuse to acknowledge their responsibility. They don't want to admit that they actively participated in this tragedy, and I no longer care. I don't need them, I don't want them around. They could offer me all the riches in the world and I wouldn't change what they did. Some wounds never heal. Her parents can serve their sentences in prison and I hope they never get to be free again. I don't care what happens to them, they deserve every consequence they received. Update 3. I felt I owed you this update, as many of you were asking about our lives. I can tell you that our situation continues to improve. Over a year ago, when I last wrote here, things were progressing, but in recent months they have improved considerably. My wife, because we got married in a small ceremony with friends and some family members, is continuing with her studies. She only needs to pass a few more subjects to get her degree. We invited my friend and his brother to the wedding first. They were the first on our list when deciding who we wanted to be there. My business continues to prosper and every day I learn something new. It's like attending university, but with real-life practical examples. What's more, partnering with these relatives was an excellent decision, as they have extensive business experience and I am constantly learning from them. We plan to expand, although in a controlled manner to maintain our competitive advantage. My wife and I have started to talk about the possibility of adopting, as we still want to be parents. She has made remarkable progress and has started to talk to me about what happened. These years of therapy are starting to show positive results, because very gradually she is becoming the same woman I fell in love with again. And after everything we have overcome together, I believe that our love is now even deeper. To my parents, at least, its actions have started to affect them in various ways. I have never hidden my story when someone asks, and I have always been clear about my parents and my brother's responsibility in this tragedy. I wouldn't say it's karma, but it has definitely impacted on all of them in one way or another, both in their work and personal relationships. I know that this has damaged some of my brother's relationships because nobody wants to be associated with someone like him. Meanwhile, my parents have experienced certain professional setbacks. Not to the point of losing their jobs, but in terms of missed opportunities. It is as if their actions were a dark cloud that prevents them from living in peace. Initially, when I wished they didn't exist, I hadn't considered this possibility, that their whole existence would be overshadowed by their actions and would constantly haunt them. Not even their own relatives want to have anything to do with them, and they have indeed lost numerous friendships over the years. It is not karma dealing a devastating blow, but slowly wearing them down day after day. My in-laws continue to serve their sentences unchanged. The only new development is that the mother was attacked by other inmates, although I don't know if it is related to our story. All we know is that they contacted my wife to inform her that a relative was in the infirmary, and she replied that they should not contact her again under any circumstances, not even in the event of her death. In all other respects, our life is constantly improving. We will have to live with what happened, but we refuse to allow it to define our existence. Perhaps it will define that of our parents, but not ours.